Alright.
Cross conscious, but I'm playing it already.
Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from the previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you. Financial report, you got any questions for Robert on that? They're all up to date.
Yep, I think the main update is the chaotic brewing loan is in a different fund, so you'll see it broken out on in your financials there. On the very last page.
We've got, I guess, just shy of 80,000 available, or no, we have just about 30,000 available that we could lend out, is that what that is?
Yep, right around 29,000.
All right. With that, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion to, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Coordinators report, Robert?
So I don't have a major report for you this month. The main thing is there's a few entrepreneurs snooping around town looking at potential restaurants. I've been working with them on their business plans and connecting them with commercial lenders. There's also a hemp processing and fertilizer company that has an offer in on the old concrete plant site, and that offer has been accepted. So they're working on closing, and I've been working with them to secure financing on some of their equipment costs. And then the other update is Rethos is here today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and I won't say more on that because we'll be talking with them later.
All right, thank you. City Administrator's report.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight first to thank you to Robert for getting Rethos here. We appreciate that, and the fact that this is Robert's last meeting with us today, because the city council is moving forward with a full-time community development position. So, and Robert doesn't want it apparently. So I don't know. I think he's doing a great job.
Can't afford it.
But he's, he enjoys his job right now with CEDA, and we're really appreciative of all the things he's working on. So he's going to be helping us a little bit with some interviews this month, and hopefully doing a nice transition over. And we appreciate him as a good resource too for the future. So he's doing a great job. Other than that, I've got a few things here. That Vale subdivision, which is Southwest Caston, is moving forward. The first lot's been acquired by the Hamilton real estate folks, so that's exciting. They've got an option on a second lot. I know the sand companies they're here today, and they're looking at an option on a lot there as well. So we're really excited about how that's moving forward with the project there. Housing's a big part of our strategy here. And then, as you all are aware, the Highway 57 project is moving forward too. The temp water was put in last week, so overall, the project's on schedule. They haven't had a lot of weather delays, so we're hoping that continues. So, other than that, I have any questions anybody has.
Thank you, Tim. Next, we have our TIF request for historic school redevelopment.
We are revisiting the request from Mr. Warschauer on some TIF assistance for the historic school redevelopment project. You have the same materials from our last meeting in your packets. These materials went to the council for some comments. Right now, the biggest thing that gives pause in the project is a question about whether the legislature is going to be reconvened to approve the state historic tax credit program. I don't think that should stop us from approving some sort of contingent assistance to help him in his due diligence period. So, I'll hand it over for more discussion.
Is it a 25-year? Is that what it was?
Do we have a term for that? Is he asking for 25 years?
He is asking for 25.
Yeah, so it probably would be the maximum length for the redevelopment TIF.
Well, I personally think 25 years is a long term, but I know it's a pay-as-you-go, but it's still...
Yeah, I do think that if you look at the nature of the building, with the redevelopment TIF, he's probably going to need all 25 years.
Okay.
It's a derelict building, it's in rough shape, and it's going to have to be a gut job. So, there's a reason they have a life expectancy for these TIFs the way they do. The goal for us would be to make sure that it lines up properly so that he doesn't miss any good years, which would mean we wouldn't start the TIF until he's at a spot where the tax increment would actually be something that's worth capturing. Because otherwise, I've seen before where people burn the first year or two of the TIF, when the value hasn't risen yet, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I mean, I don't know what that would mean, but we probably wouldn't look at actually starting it until like 2025 maybe, or something like that for that taxable year. I know just from the council's perspective, they wanted to see if you guys had any other feedback related to the numbers. I think that by and large, there's some support for doing something on that site, and it's just a desire to make sure that this is the right kind of project we want to pursue. We know that there's a lot of different pieces that go into it, like Robert said, the contingent approval, because, I mean, the city's money will be the first money in. It'll have to have a lot of things that'll have to get done, but we want to make sure that we are on the right track with Paul and with the project, I think.
The other question I had too was, if we go forward with the TIF for this project, does the TIF, let's say he changes the project, does the TIF go, or do you stop? I mean, let's say, you know, he gets halfway through and then sells it to another developer, and then they change the whole outlook.
And that was some of our comments at
Yeah.
council too, is the TIF would have to be designed with a clause in there that the scope of the project can't change. If it's going as with senior apartment
housing,
building,
which,
it's
or
not-
apartments, yeah.
not Section 8 or whatever it is, if he changes the scope of the project, then the TIF evaporates.
And that can all be put into a TIF agreement
Right.
when it's put
Yep.
together.
I thought that, but then I just wanted to verify, and so everybody knew what we were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think we certainly can write some of those in. I mean, I hate to get too specific to the actual use, you know, avoiding certain
But in this
uses,
case,
sure.
we need to though, because
Yeah,
the person
Yeah.
doing the project has a past history of doing that on multiple projects,
sure.
so.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, in the long run, you know, it's up to the council and what they decide they want the terms to be.
There's also an easement on the real estate to keep that front facade. Does that have any bearing on?
On the TIF.
I don't think so. I mean, they'll have to meet their criteria for historic redevelopment, I'm sure. There are a lot of rules governing that, and Minnesota Historical Society will keep a close eye on that, but I don't think that would have anything to do with the TIF.
Historical, this has to do with selling of the building to anyone, that front facade is left intact.
As long as that's in the contract when you sell the property
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So then, that would be a separate,
Yeah, it has more to do with the title work, I'm
Yeah.
sure, than it does
Yeah.
with what we would be looking at, I would think.
Okay, and I guess I'm wondering if that would be in there as far as the city's requirements to keep the TIF. Or if we could put it in there for the city's requirements, since it's on our easement.
It's already indicated on the easement that they signed prior, but that happened that way, so it's not necessary.
Yeah, I don't think
But
it's necessary
if,
or wise for the city to get involved in the easement part of it, because that's private transaction as far as that goes.
I would guess that would be further solidified in like the historic tax credit process, because they're gonna have to require, they're gonna require, in order to get those tax credits, that they maintain that, maintain the different elements of the historicity, which I'm sure includes the facade, for a certain period of times. So, I mean, it sounds to me like there's multiple instruments kind of making sure that facade stays there, yeah.
I think it just doesn't seem that there's any financial repercussions.
Well, the TIF, I mean, the historic tax credit would be a financial repercussion. It's pretty, on both the federal and the state, because they're applying.
That doesn't have anything to do with our easement.
Well, the easement is
That only has to do with him getting money to restore it.
Well, basically, if he changes the facade, and that's a part of a Phase 2 tax credit approval, it would trigger both the tax credit issues and the easement issues at the same time. So then you would end up with both, I guess, whatever the legal repercussions of the easement would be, plus then whatever I'm not sure if it's, yeah, it'd either be shut off or a clawback. I guess I don't really know. It might be different between federal and state. But basically, there's multiple instruments keeping, basically securing the facade as the historicity of it anyways.
Yeah.
But in order to get the tax credit, it's very beneficial to have the city backing And that's why the other two didn't, because of the situation with the city not backing them. That had gone for the prior Sherman and the Kansas City one. So to show backing from the city on their submission is huge. And having the TIF in place is something that would be beneficial to that.
I mean, going back to the purpose of it, I mean, I think our, you know, the housing study that was done published back in, was it 2019? I mean, suggests that we have quite a lot of need for market rate senior housing, and I don't think that's been the purpose of any other multifamily housing deals that have come to the table. So, I mean, I think the data is there to suggest that it's in the community's interest to have a purpose-driven clause in the TIF district saying, we want it to be, you know, senior housing of some kind to meet that need that's not otherwise being addressed. But I would concur, I mean, it needs to be, I think it would have to be a contingent approval, because there's, I mean, the scope of the project and kind of what, you know, the number of units you get out of it without historic tax credits to be sold, you basically, he's gotta have a program where he's selling tax credits to have sufficient equity to make this work. Otherwise it doesn't work. I mean, it's just, the cost per unit is significant. So cash flowing that in any, like, conventional financing way, and then, like, I've, you know, and then even if you were to say, well, we don't want a historic tax credit project for some reason, and you were to bypass the easement and tear down that building, I don't even know how, it wouldn't be financially solvent to just put houses on there. I mean, the cost per lots would be, I mean, you'd have to be building a whole bunch of skyscrapers, I guess, to make that even worth it. So it's, I think a contingent approval pursuant to the approval of state historic tax credits or the acquisition of them anyways, and then, and I know when I talked with some historic tax credit lobbyist guy, it sounded like they were feeling pretty positive optimistic about the tax credits getting done. It's just a matter of when will they come back and do it, which is then a question of the time frame. So we'd have to decide if we wanted an expiration on our offer or not. Because I mean, you know, if they don't come back for 2 years, do we want this in limbo that long?
That's a good point. You know, do we plan to put it out there and say, hey, we've got a certain time frame, and then you'd have to come back and talk to us again about, you know, a renewal of it or something like that. We've done it with other, you know, projects or programs before too. But I mean, I think you bring up a good point about the ability for the site to be utilized. You know, I mean, if you don't do something, you know, you're having a building that's going to continue to deteriorate. So I mean, that's one thing from a community development kind of perspective I've looked at as a, you know, it's on historic register, so we know that there are certain things that won't be happening with the building. It needs to be within that framework that it's allowed to try and make the best of the situation there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I live about 3 blocks from it, and I think this is kind of it's kind of the ideal, I mean, it's kind of like exactly what I imagine the historic tax credit program was made for, was buildings that otherwise would not be financially solvent to restore, would make use of those, raise equity by using the financial incentives that the tax credits offer, to do a project otherwise that doesn't work. So, I mean, it makes, I don't know, it's, so I think having the easement, the National Register, I don't know, it all seems to point as much as you possibly can from multiple angles towards kind of a single outcome, which is kind of historical-looking senior housing. I mean, that's kind of...
Old building, old people.
Yeah, that's kind of the funnel taking place.
I'll let you say that, Janice, I'm not going to.
I'm speaking from experience.
Mike, did you have any feedback?
No, I was just looking at the project cost. Is it 10.3? Is that an accurate figure now?
Yeah.
So it does, yeah.
Okay. Didn't one project cost come in around 2 or 3?
4 was the one I remember from last year.
4 was the first number?
Yeah, 4 was the project cost from the previous possible buyer,
How
so
many lots are on a block in town?
depends on the block, depends on what style development you're into.
None of our blocks
And
are
the
the same.
smaller, the older town, it has more lots per block, but,
So I think in my neighborhood, it's about 8.
yeah, 8 to 6 6 to 8 would be typical, so.
The lot sell for in Casino.
Depends where it's at.
I'd say in my part of town, there aren't any. You know that.
65 to 75 in the new developments.
Down and
Yeah.
mention them back, on what he's paying for it, no.
No.
Yes.
So,
I'd make a motion to recommend the council to approve the TIF with contingencies and let them decide the time and.
we have a motion to approve. Do we have a
I'll second.
motion and a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Sorry, was there just a one extension?
No, I'm.
That'll go forward to council tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that's right.
Okay, up next is Sand Company's Affordable Housing Project Request for Assistance.
And this is a project that you're familiar with as well, and I know we talked about it, we had a presentation at our last EDA meeting, and the request was to bring that back after consideration for the members, and I don't know, Robert, if you have any updates you want to share, if we want to ask our guests to come up.
I would ask if you had anything to add from last time. They're ultimately asking for a letter of support, as well as a resolution committing to 10 years of TIF assistance, reduced costs of the land, as well as some reduction in fees for infrastructure assessments at $50,000.
Since the last time we were here, we've met with Min Prairie to kind of work through that process with the supportive housing units, and we've also met with the local continuum of care confirmation, which works through homelessness within the area, since we have 4 units set aside for high priority homeless. And then we're just working on solidifying that information for the grant application. We've also commissioned a market study for the application, and yeah, just kind of working through, there's I think like 50 to 75 checklist items, so just working our way through those. So we'll be meeting with SEMCRA, we're having some email conversations with them regarding securing rental assistance for the supportive housing units. And then otherwise, once we have this hopefully finalized with the EDA and City Council, that'll check off a handful of items as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the project. The overall scope hasn't changed, still 48 units, a mix of 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. We plan to submit with the same building as last year for the application period, and then we'll come back hopefully after selection to get feedback from the city, EDA, community and staff members, so we can kind of finalize our design. The other thing we did, and we can potentially update the documents, but a proposed name for the project, we've been using Casson Apartments as a placeholder, but we plan to, we're looking at using Edge Apartments. So I don't think there's another Edge Apartments in Casson, is there?
How many supportive units were there total, and just the breakdown of those?
Yeah, so right now we have 4 high-priority homeless units set aside and 5 people with disabilities units. And then the plan is to utilize Min Prairie as a service provider for the 5 people with disabilities units, which are very likely individuals they are already serving in the community, but they would just provide housing options. And then high-priority homeless units, we are still solidifying that, but Min Prairie's helping us to identify service provider options. Actually, I think maybe this afternoon or sometime in the next couple of days, we have a call with a potential service provider.
Awesome.
We have one secured, but they're out of the Twin Cities, so we were hoping to find someone local. But if we can't, we have one that is interested and able to come down here. So, and then we would be the property manager on site, so SAM Property Management. We'd likely hire a half-time person, and then with hopes of adding hopefully a community or 2 to neighboring areas within the next couple of years to eventually get that to a full-time equivalent. Our nearest property from here is Lakeville, so it's not too far.
Perfect.
I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I was just looking at the energy rebates
Yep.
on there. What is,
So Minnesota Housing requires that we go out to the utility providers to ask for energy rebates. So the state of Minnesota, or at least for the large energy organizations, there's a additional bonus for affordable housing for energy rebates. So we will likely, I haven't looked at this because we just estimate them at the application. So who are your service providers down here for gas and electric?
Minnesota Energy for gas, and then the city provides electric, which is a good question that came up in staff discussions on the electrification of the building. So one thing that some of the staff would like to see is if it's possible to look at utilizing electric in a larger degree for the building than you might typically with appliances and things like that.
Yeah.
So that'd be a conversation we'd like to have, because obviously, the more electric that's used for our utility is a positive for us in the use terms, and it enables us to sort of look at it in a more positive way when we're doing that, as opposed to, if everything's gas, utilities, we don't control that, so.
Yeah, so the only gas that we would be planned for a standard building of ours would be heat, and otherwise all the appliances are electric and air conditioning. So that's heat and hot water. So would be the two that we would use, and we can certainly talk about potentially utilizing electric, depending on how that works within the performer. We have to set aside utility allowances for the residents, so sometimes electric utilities are higher, which kind of then creates an imbalance on the performer. But the other thing we could look at doing, so basically, I don't know if the city offers rebates for basically decreasing your energy costs, and they give you rebates to pay for those things, is what the energy rebates are. So like 10 years ago, if you would put LED lights in, you'd get a ton of rebates for that. Now that's standard pretty much. I mean, it's within the energy code, so you don't get rebates for that, but you might get rebates for going to a 95 AFUE furnace versus a 92. So it's 95% efficient versus 92% efficient. Trying to think
programmable thermostats?
Yep, programmable thermostats, sensor-controlled lighting, like in like exterior sensor-control lighting. Trying to think some of the other things. But one of the things we could look at if we were able to, depending on construction costs are so up in the air right now, very rising constantly, and then numbers are falling, but it's not really reflected right now yet. But if the project was selected and we looked at utilizing electric, we could do a possibility of some solar offset, although it wouldn't necessarily help the city piece of it. If the city does a buyback of solar, I don't know if you guys do that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have to take a look at a lot of different
Yeah,
options here.
yeah.
Even electric hot water heaters would be something we would take a look at, and that'd be a rebate for that. So
Yeah,
that would
perfect.
be something we'd look at in the long run too, so.
Yeah, perfect. So we're open to all that, and after selection, our plan generally what we do is sit down with the city staff and kind of go through the list of everything that we need to review or decide, and then negotiate before we come before the EDA with kind of our, ideas and city council, so.
Anybody else got any questions, or? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If we,
I'll move to approve to make the recommendation.
okay, we have a motion? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. That will also be on council then tomorrow night. That's right. Now we have a facade improvement grant application from Chaotic Brewing Company.
Completed facade improvement grant application from Chaotic Brewing. They have just over $5,300 in cost to renovate the standing sign that's there and have a change over their sign, as well as a couple signs on the side of the building. And so they're requesting up to the full amount of $2,000 of reimbursement. And you can find photographs in the packet as well as the application and the quote for the signage. So the quote covers the pillar sign, two side building signs, and the installation costs.
They don't have anything of what their...
This is just what they're gonna fix?
Right, yeah, they only have to submit the current signage
Yeah.
for
Okay.
this application. Then before we cut them the check, then they submit the new stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Looks like it fits into the guidelines of our facade improvements.
This is new, that no work begins until EDA approval.
Nope, that's always been a
It's always
requirement.
been there.
Yep.
There was an exception made before.
Many.
Do we have any other questions, or if not, I'll take a motion to approve.
It's a meeting motion.
We were looking for a motion.
Motion.
Okay, great, okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next is the loan subordination to Smith for chaotic brewing loan.
So I got a call from Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation's loan lending director requesting that the loan that we made to Chaotic Brewing for $50,000, we took a second mortgage on the building. They've requested that we take a third position or a shared second position, as he's also seeking financing from Smith, and they're looking at giving $123,000, and there's just not enough collateral there for them to approve. They are not in the second position. It's common for when Smith makes loans that communities take the subordinate position to Smith because they, in general, give larger loans. And we've started this discussion with the loan committee a little bit, but we didn't have enough time frame to get together in person. And so I would start with the loan committee members for any comments you have on what we potentially be willing to do there.
Oh, well, just a couple things I had was, they have a loan also with the county for another $25,000.
Right, they haven't closed on that yet. It's been approved.
But it's
yeah.
potential, yeah.
Yep.
So if we end up going third, I mean, we keep dropping down and,
Yeah.
you know,
If we were to take a third today, we would be in a shared third position
with the county.
and they've approved $25,000.
And when I'm looking at it, it's not my money, our money, it's the taxpayer money. So, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how much they've got invested in this, because every time we turn around, they keep coming back from somebody else for another loan and another loan. And it's like, are they investing into this property, or is it all community collateral, you know, I mean, so I just have a feeling if we do this, we need to be listed with the second. Because we gotta be able to get our money back for the city, it's not, and it just seems like they keep adding on, and they're gonna, how far do they get before?
For each of their loan applications, there's a requirement of 10% equity in the deal, and they've meet the 10% threshold for each application they've put in.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. The 10% equity's been there for all of it, so.
But it just seems, you know,
Right, but they're 10%, they're 10%.
10%
That doesn't
is-
change.
right, right.
We knew when they did their application with EDA, they had 10% equity, and we knew they were gonna have 90% financing. Might be 5 different sources, but it's still 90% financing and 10% equity, regardless of where the sources are from.
And I think I think the bank does have a position on their home as well, so, I mean, I do think they're involved in this.
Yeah, there's HELOC, bank has the first mortgage position, as well as all the equipment.
I mean, just the nature of EDA loans is inherently a little higher risk
Sure.
usually. And I mean, talking with Robert about this, I think the shared second would be what we would go for. I mean, that's my goal on it. But at the same time, whenever we make a loan, we also recognize that there's potential for loss. And that's one of the reasons they come to the EDA or they come to the Smith instead of just getting it all through the bank, you know, and
Yep, I agree. If they're willing to do the second, do the second. If not, I'm fine with the third, because they come to EDA because they can't get 100% bank financing. That's why we're here, is for those higher risk or lower capital, you know, people with collateral, that's what we're here to help, so. I'd be willing to do the second or the third, whatever we can do.
And part of my goal is to make sure the remodel is completed,
Mhm.
because without the remodel, the property is,
Not gonna be,
any
yes.
kind of value.
Oh, I agree.
If they can at least execute that, even if it's, in the long run, it's not a successful business, we hope it is.
Oh,
But if it's
yeah.
not, then it has some inherent value in resale, so that would protect us a little bit better.
Makes sense. I just didn't want them to get partway through and then all of a sudden the city is sitting on.
You don't wanna own a brewery?
That's the risk of being a lender.
It is, but I just looking at it, it's not, you know,
Do you need
who's.
a motion on that?
Yes, I think we do.
I'll make the motion to slide to the second position, or share the second position with Smith, or third if that's not in their class, so.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Next, we have the Rethos Downtown Assessment Work Group with EDA.
We have exactly 30 minutes.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I asked for half an hour and we're getting a half an hour. That's great.
I'll just let you take it over, I won't even introduce it.
Thanks. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Emily Karash-Stacy, and I am the Community Programs Director at Rethos. We are our nonprofit, and we work for the reimagining of people and places. So we do a lot of work with historic buildings and historic downtowns and preservation of buildings and community. And we are also the statewide coordinating entity for the Main Street program in Minnesota. I'm here because Casson is one of 3 recipients of a Smith grant that is covering the cost of this downtown assessment. You're the first of the 3, and this is the first time we've been back on the road doing downtown assessment since the pandemic, so it feels really good to be here, but I also feel a little rusty, so forgive me if I ask you the same question twice. But the goal of a downtown, before I start, this is our Executive Director at Rethos, Dr. Heidi Swank, who is joining me today and scribing for me. Yeah, thanks, I brought markers. And we're around for a while. So if you see us around town or have other questions or just want to stop and grab us and chat and ask questions, feel free. A few things about the downtown assessment that I want you to keep in your brains while we do some rapid fire question and answer here. So this is for specifically the downtown district, not Casson as a whole. We're thinking of your downtown core, your Main Street zone. This does take into account comprehensive plans, past studies that you've had, other work that the city is doing, so it's not existing outside of those plans. We want it to be complementary and to live alongside goals that you already have. We also want this to be something that is useful and actionable, not just a study that gets put out on the shelf and is referenced from time to time. We really try to create a plan that is useful for the downtown as a whole to incorporate. We like to offer a lot of baby step solutions as well as some grander ideas. This is the very first focus group. There will be a number of focus groups with several different entities while I'm here. There will also be a virtual survey coming out. I think we'll probably send that in the next week or so. But that is something, even though you're here today answering questions, please take that survey, share it with your friends, share it with your family, and we want everybody to take this, even if you have little kids in your life. Have little kids take it. If you have parents, grandparents, have them take it. We want all ages, folks who live and work in Casson. We really want to get some good community feedback. So this is data that we're going to ask you to keep your work hat on right now. So think of your role here and the role you're filling on the EDA. So not you on a person on a Saturday afternoon when you're not working. I really want you to be thinking of your role here as your role sitting in these chairs as an economic development member. All right, ready? I'm going to need some verbal confirmation. Yeah, great. Okay, good. Okay, so this could be a free-for-all. I might just bounce back and forth because sometimes that's the best way to get people talking, but gut instinct, not the Minnesota nice answer. When you, what is one word you would use to describe downtown Casson? I'm going to start with you, Kathy, because we got to meet this morning.
One word, Kathy.
One word. First one that comes to your brain, really fast. Go.
Actually, Usually, we're more toward the bedroom community
Okay.
sometimes,
Okay.
because Rochester's so.
Yeah. All right, how about you?
Yes.
Dead, all right.
A linear,
Linear, oh,
is that just like a
The
road?
line?
Just
Cool.
the line?
am I going too fast, are you? Good.
Lost.
All right,
Repurposed.
okay.
One word.
I know, one word, I got a lot of words.
He's got a lot of words.
Doesn't have to be a four-letter word, okay?
No, I'm there every day. Underutilized.
Okay.
Utilitarian. Utilitarian?
You can put a check mark next to underutilized.
Great.
That was cheesy.
No, that's okay. Once we start doing this more, there will probably be some duplicate answers. All right. So this question is about the things that are working. So think about the good things that are happening in downtown. What programs are working? What people are doing really good things? Are there community groups doing really excellent work? Are there nonprofits who have events or whatever in downtown? Maybe there's a very specific business who does something good. What is going well in downtown?
I think the chamber has done a very good job, most recently in the last 2 years,
Improved, yeah.
to get some events going.
Okay,
That have been very helpful.
great. What else?
I think it's people downtown starting to step up for themselves.
When you say people, do you mean like the business owners?
The business owners.
Okay.
Not necessarily chamber members.
Okay. That's a good thing to know. Do you want me to keep going down the line? Is that too much pressure?
I think there's some really good anchor businesses,
Okay.
you know, like, I mean...
Can you give us some names? You can be...
Well, I mean, I think the liquor store is a good anchor business,
Okay.
and the fitness center, and there, you know, the movie theater, the Legion, I mean, and then some of the other businesses, like, you know, but I think there's some really good anchor businesses
So
that
the
do,
big four.
they draw people downtown. I mean, we've got a lot of really good hair salons, I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah. So does everywhere.
There's
what
a
else? Go ahead.
emerging downtown improvement task force that.
Oh,
Do the St. Patty's Day event last
Fun.
March, and that's kind of going to be their thing, and maybe potentially do more if they so choose.
Great.
It's the, what is that project in the winter? The Christmas,
Christmas and gas.
Christmas and
Downtown
Gas.
Christmas.
That always attracts a lot of people for that weekend.
Christmas in Casson is the name of it? Who
Cha-
puts that on? Is it
Chamber of
a-
Commerce.
The Chamber, okay.
It
Great.
just seemed to bring a lot of people down.
Is the Chamber of Commerce a Casson specific, or is it Casson and other places?
Casson.
Okay, great, good to know. Anything else that jumps to mind?
I think, in general, the service-type businesses do well downtown.
Great.
A lot of different services offered.
We've got we've got the movie theater. I think that's a nice, aspect of our Main Street. And depending on how, you know, this has always been an interesting conversation, is, you know, like, when you're talking Main Street, you know, if you go off of, you know, if you include a block off, you know, then you get like KM Telecom, Hy-Vee, and I think there's some, you know, I got Trail Creek Coffee, I guess, is about a block off. You know, so if you stick to really like true Main Street, you don't quite get those, but I do think that having those, you know, the grocery store like right next, you know, just right off Main Street, you know, is nice.
Yeah,
It
downtown
helps.
adjacent, right, yeah.
Makes a difference.
We have I think an odd Main Street, because we have the hardware store, we have down here, we have the
Yep.
dollar store. We have a weird Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, it's really more of a corridor than anything
No,
else.
it's not even a corridor, it's,
We have
a
yeah, I'd say we,
town.
well, we have kind of, you know, basically there's the Main Street district, but then there's also, I would consider kind of the newer developing, commercial corridor, which is more along 57, You know, I mean, to an extent, you could argue that it's a little bit more industrial once you get south of 14. But along 57 there, you know, you start talking about Home Federal and Bremer, the hardware store, American Family, the Plaza 57 and all the businesses in there. I mean, it is kind of the newer commercial district, you know, that's, I think, got a lot of nice momentum. So you end up actually with kind of two sets of commercial districts that have, I think, pretty different needs and pretty different you know, and kind of different directions a little bit, just because like one's, you know, you're talking new building or like very recently remodeled type buildings off of like kind of the really more of the true main drag of Casson when you talk about traffic flow. But you know, our Main Street then has different needs where it's more, you're talking more kind of like the older historical buildings, and you know, it's been there longer, right? So it's just the tenure are just a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we're really gonna try to focus, and I think you brought up a good point that we'll look at those adjacent blocks too, because that is very walkable, that's very much within the radius. Once we start getting on that corridor where you come off of 14, it does feel different. It is a different district, so we're really focusing on that.
And that's part of the reason that it's different is they have the space for parking.
Yep.
Well, and the other dynamic is Manorville Avenue, the traffic count doesn't go down Main Street generally.
Yep.
It goes north-south, it doesn't go east-west.
That's a good point.
So those type of businesses need that, you know, that traffic.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Thinking about either your work as an EDA or your work that you're representing any businesses, what's the best part about working with or in the downtown district?
Walkable, gas station.
Okay.
I can park right in front of my office.
We're great.
Yeah.
I don't have walk-in business per se. Kathy once in a while.
Yeah. Anything else? Is there anything that you as a collective EDA have done with downtown that has been really exciting or you feel really
I think
strongly
it's
about?
just the building facade has helped.
We got a grant for Rethos to come, that was.
Yeah. I think that, you know.
I mean, so I'm the president of the chamber, and I like the downtown events, right? Christmas in Casson's fun. Just last week we did a round and about, which was a new thing we tried, and yeah, that was a good time. I dressed up my benchmark was 100 people downtown was a success, which, you know, kind of a low bar really, but that's how I was feeling, because it was like daytime on a Friday, and I think I was hearing numbers closer between 200 and 300, which I was like, wow, that's...
I think it was very successful.
Yeah, I felt really good. I dressed up as a T-Rex all day, so that was fun.
Great.
Very hot, but it was fun. Kids loved it.
Had a lot of kids.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna move us to the next one, just because hopefully leaves some questions. So thinking back 5, 10, even in longer memory, what is the biggest loss that you think downtown Casson has faced?
Loopholes.
Loopholes? Okay.
I mean, I think retail's
Restaurant.
moved, yeah, the restaurants is,
We don't have a restaurant.
I'd say our retail has predominantly moved off of Main Street.
Okay.
I mean, I'd say we have a very good, service sector on Main Street, but that also just changes the dynamic if you have a business professional services on Main Street.
What else?
I'm gonna go way back, a bowling alley.
That's okay. Bowling alley, how long ago?
Oh.
There was one?
35?
I can say,
More than?
Probably about 30, 35
Okay,
years.
that's
yeah.
helpful.
30 years, yeah.
Okay.
that's a long time.
That's
man.
okay, you can go that far back.
Your
That's something
mural.
that people, we lost.
Come on.
Hardware stores? Okay.
We have 4 empty lots on Main Street. How many lots are even on Main Street?
Were there any, civic groups or clubs that really focused in downtown, you know, Lions or Kiwanis
The
or
Legion.
anything? The Legion?
Really, I think, bloomed.
Yeah, they're still active.
Oh, so the
I
Legion
wouldn't
is
say
doing
they're,
well.
yeah, they're not a loss.
Okay,
They're not a
so
loss.
okay, good.
Oh, you want a lot?
Yeah,
Oh, lots.
yep. I'd say retail moving off, is a loss to Main Street.
Yeah, anything else? Okay. What's missing right now? This is what I'm gonna go around the room, that first thing that you think is missing in your role as an EDA person. We're gonna go back the other way and switch it up. First, gut response.
It's been said a ton of times, a retail option.
Retail options, okay?
I think a quality restaurant.
Okay.
So you want a thing, not a concept.
No, concepts are fine.
What's missing is industry in Casson overall to keep people in Casson to shop. When 90% of the people leave and go to Rochester, you can build all the retail you want on Main Street, but if the community's not willing and able to shop there during the hours they want to shop there, I think that's the biggest challenge with it, to me. I mean,
So-
restaurants, retail, it's all missing, 100%.
So accessible hours.
Well, accessible hours or getting people to see the value in being able to shop at the mom and pop or the small store versus all the box stores they drive by on their way home from work.
Consumer retainage.
It's just it's just a concept that people have to buy into. Do they like the idea of a vibrant Main Street, or do they want to support a vibrant Main Street?
Robert pretty much had mine, small retail, maybe specialty clothing, something a little out of mainstream as far as retail goes.
I hear it from the young drivers and the old drivers, better parking so they can get down without feeling like they have to jolt out to get run over. So people will avoid it. My daughter avoids Main Street for that reason. She'll block off and walk there,
Yeah, that angled parking's tricky.
or just, or the lack of a parking lot.
Yeah.
It is. A lot of blind spots.
Yep.
Do parallel.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
They avoid it for that reason.
I guess I'm a toss-up between retail and, I guess, Main Street or Casson as a whole. Like, I think a lot about just like, if I have a client that I want to bring to like a nice restaurant in town, like I don't have a spot really for that, so that's missing.
Nicer restaurant, okay.
Yeah.
I just happened to be listening to WCCO on my way to this meeting.
We don't have a
Yeah.
radio station, do we?
We don't
on Main
have a-
Street.
We don't
We're
have
missing
a
that.
car dealership, we don't have a lot of stuff that we used to have when we moved here 30 years ago. But, they were talking about towns in southern Minnesota from the cities down that they would, because she was a new announcer, she was gonna go to Stillwater this weekend. And she mentioned Caledonia, she mentioned so many small towns. And then he said to her, well, what town would you not go to? She said Rochester. And she said because it doesn't have anything unique. And of course the guy goes, you don't think Mail Clinic's unique? And she said, I'm not sick. So I do think that that's what we don't have anything unique. We don't have anything that somebody says.
That's the
"Oh,
thing, that you can only get
so
here."
hot."
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we used to have, and I will come back to loopholes. You guys are all too young. But that was the place.
I never know when I moved here.
That's where I got all my school clothes.
Your mother bought those, you didn't go down.
tried to go there.
I had to go try everything on, and I...
Let me have
Yeah,
a few,
they were
what's missing?
Yeah, the clothing, the retail, a restaurant on Main Street, a go-to, the destination go-to, the unique little shop.
Cool.
Although I think that Johnson General Store is gonna be very helpful for that.
Cool.
The one
Yeah,
that we talked
yeah.
about this morning. Yeah.
Okay, there's gonna be two kind of sides to this question. Maybe I should have drawn the line down the middle for that for you. My apologies. So, the first in 5 years I want you to think about is, if business continues as usual, if things just keep rolling the way they're rolling, what does downtown look like in 5 years?
I'll start, it's gonna stay the same or less.
Okay?
I don't know, I mean, if gas prices are gonna be as high as they are, I think, I don't like it being that high, but it does benefit local shopping more, because there is, likelihood, like Hy-Vee is a place that's typically more expensive, and so if I was in Rochester, you'd go to Aldi or something like that maybe, but I go to Hy-Vee almost every day now, because they got their little coupon specials, and we walk over there and we walk back, because I don't have to spend it on gas.
Yeah.
So I think, if gas prices stayed high, you might see things change a little bit with viability, because it would make it more viable to have something here. I was gonna say, in 5 years, what do I see as a street project, but I don't know.
All right.
Typical administration.
Anybody else, if things continue as usual?
I think things as usual are changing.
Right.
I mean, when I think of, if this were 10 years ago, I would say stagnating, going backwards,
Mm-hmm.
but I see things improving.
Mhm.
I think I will recommend our city leadership I think you guys have done a great improvement in the last couple of years for that.
We get that liquor store model too, don't worry, it's up there, it's happening.
Let's get that.
It's coming.
Yeah,
I'd say
the barn.
I would say we'll see slow change over 5 years, because there's
Yeah.
people coming in, there's
Well,
new things happening, the
Sustainable.
Legion's upgraded, the liquor store's gonna be remodeled.
And it comes from your younger, it doesn't come from my generation.
Right.
It comes from my grandkids' generation. They're the ones who have to want to put in the elbow grease and
We're gonna have a dance studio, we got the general store coming.
I mean, one thing that you have to place into it is
Housing coming.
the housing. I mean, if we do 4 apartment complexes, that's another 500-600 residents, and they're just down 34, so, that, I think population growth drives some of the business too, so.
Another thing that probably hurt Main Street was moving our annual festival to the park.
Yeah.
We used to have we had a dance downtown. We had a dance that was free for all the community members, and then we had a dance that they charged for. That was the, firemen.
What year was that? And we did the street, when I got, I was just thinking, because the festival in the park, since 90, hasn't it always been in the park, and they just did the street dance downtown on Friday night?
Oh, no. Everything started downtown.
Okay.
The kiddie parade started downtown. There wasn't
Okay, that was before my
anything
time.
in the park.
Okay.
It wasn't the festival in the park, it was the Casson Festival. And
That
then
changed.
we went to the festival in the park, and since it was the park, they said, well, why are we doing anything downtown? Oh, sorry. But, yeah, and
Yep.
it killed downtown.
Yeah, no, that was before my,
There used to be that Black
that was before my
Friday
time.
sale.
Sidewalk sale.
All right, so
Crazy days,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
Okay.
flip the Sean's head a little bit. In 5 years, if you could wave your magic wand, or like you had unlimited money, or like things were perfect and everything that should be voted on was voted yes, blah, 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 what does downtown Casson look like in 5 years? In your perfect world as an EDA member?
That
You don't
depends.
have any empty lots.
Okay, no empty lots.
I mean, I'd see a more walkable place, kind of a place instead of just someplace people go and get a haircut. I think it'd be something to draw people downtown.
So the idea of a place, not just a space.
Right.
Cool.
Different parking.
Yep.
Different parking.
Gotta have a
okay.
parking lot, or, yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
you, the parking is,
Dangerous.
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe take one of those lots and make it a
Parking lot.
parking building or,
Oh, ramp.
yeah.
Okay.
People could park in there and then just
Parking
walk.
Carvana thing, yeah, vending machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would echo the walkability piece. I'd like to see a different streetscape, sidewalks widened, some trees going up,
Right.
parking
Lights
going
at
in the
night.
opposite direction, parallel parking.
Yeah.
Cool.
My magic wand for, I guess it's not so much like the structure for downtown, but, I would love to see like that a roundabout thing, which is basically just a re-ushering in of the Crazy Days is what it was kind of framed off after, is basically doing that. I'd love to see that done like either monthly or even like more frequently, to basically do like basically like, kind of like what Rochester was doing with Thursdays on First, but around and about on Main kind of thing. And, and then with that, I'd like to see it expanded beyond just like what we did during the day, but yeah, kind of build on like live music and the dancing and the maker craft kind of people at, in the evening, that kind of thing, and just kind of, expanding on it. So like, that's way more, vibrant if you have lighting, if you have, like a restaurant and more retail downtown, and you but it also develops some of that, kind of that destination traffic that helps economically support those things too. Yeah.
Thank you. You look like you were about to say something.
He took my word, vibrancy.
Great.
And I'd like to pass more people on the sidewalk than a couple a day.
I like that, passing more people on the
You know,
sidewalk.
just activity, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
different people being down there for different reasons.
I'd like to see more than just a tier. I want to see like a stegosaurus or something.
Yeah.
I want to see Chris down there at least weekly dressed in some kind of inflatable outfit.
Not gonna happen, you can cross that out.
I think that was the last, yes, that was the last question we had to get through, and we have 4 minutes left. So, what questions do you have for me, or are there things that you really want me to make sure I know as we continue about on our downtown assessment?
When you say downtown though, that's the biggest thing. Are you gonna look farther than just Main Street? Because that's the biggest question.
I'll look at your zoning map, but also just, there's times that the feel of what's downtown doesn't always match your zoning map, so we're gonna go where that vibrancy is. Like, we did a walkthrough this morning, it's like, oh, these side streets feel like they're part of downtown. Oh, once you get to the Mayo and the Head Start, kind of feels like downtown's over. So regardless of what the zoning is, going with what that feeling of the place is.
When you get done, I'd like to know what the outside view of, what is Caston's downtown?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll include all of that. And you will get access to all of the data that we gather, along with our, impressions of things, too. We'll give you all of that raw data, as well as the activation report. We give you our top ideas with activation steps, places that have done something similar that you can reference. You'll get all of it. We pass that all on to you.
I guess one thing, that sounds great. One thing I want to go back to on the 5 years from now, with the magic wand, I think having a more seamless, merging or transition between kind of the new and the old districts would be nice, especially from, and it's hard to say, like, the walkability of it is a challenge because you have 57 cutting across, and it's not a very let's go walk across 57, I'm excited about that. The roundabouts might actually help with that. I think that's, but if you...
Are you guys getting roundabouts like everywhere else is?
Yeah, 3 of them.
Great. I live in Winona. We're getting 4 right now.
There you go.
It's very under construction where I live.
Yeah, that was where the name Around and About Casson came from.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Anyways, but having a more kind of a, the new and the old downtowns that you would be like, oh, this is downtown is that you have a larger area, like kind of a big L shape, I guess, is what it would become.
What's the population of Winona?
If we take into account Minnesota City, Bisbee, we're right about 30,000.
We're about 6,500, we're gonna have 3 roundabouts, they're gonna have 4.
Roundabouts per capita.
I bet your land size is about as much as we have though, because it's an island and they couldn't really, we're kind of stuck. We have very small lots. When you were talking about how many lots on a block, I'm like, 14.
I had a couple things for other business, so I think we can...
Sure, all right.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
One, are you actually going to meet on the 5th of July, right after the holiday?
Oh, that's a good point.
Do you want to keep that or change that?
I will be gone, speaking for myself.
What's that?
I will be gone.
Okay. Is that Monday then, or Tuesday?
It's
Must
a
be
Tuesday.
after the Monday? Okay. Do you guys think about moving it for July? What do you think?
I'm retired right
I get back in town, so I'll be back in on the 5th, but.
I'll be at work. I'll be here.
Well, let's plan on it for now, and, and if something does pop up, just email me or Robert and let us know, because if we don't have a quorum, then obviously we don't want to bother having a meeting that day, but if we do, then it just makes sense to mess up Edie's schedule the next week, so.
And then my other thing is, anybody heard from Jill Moosbrugger? This is the second meeting she's missed, and
I saw her on Friday, she seemed fine.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't hear, from her about this meeting exactly, so I don't know about that, but no, I mean, she's alive and kicking.
Maybe reach out to her.
I'll reach out to her.
Chair to tell people they need to show up, but.
Well, we reach out to her and see if she's gonna come, and if not, then
Well, I need a new chamber,
we'll have to
liaison.
look at that, yeah.
I mean, I'll, see,
Because
I
I mean,
know,
if you start missing too many meetings, you're not gonna be helpful to the chamber or here.
Voting member or just?
She's a voting.
Voting member.
Oh, okay.
liaison is voting, yeah.
So if you wanna ask her too.
Yep,
you know,
I'll
being
check with her.
She's on the chamber and.
Yep, I'll check with her.
Appointed by our mayor, is that the deal, or?
It's,
The chamber asks a member, and then the mayor officially appoints all the members, so.
I'll check with her.
Nope, that's all I got.
Do we got anything for July meeting now there, right now? I was gonna hear back from Jill. So, if not, I guess we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We'll see you all
Appreciate it.
around town, I hope.